Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? I know they were playing with the microphones earlier. So on behalf of Colonel Brandon Teague and Command Sergeant Major Smith, the command team for 5th SFAB, Sergeant Major Stewart and I are honored to be here today. They're having some fun at a live fire exercise with a priority partner out in Eastern Washington at the Great Yakima Training Center, if you've been out there. So I got lucky, got to come here instead of Yakima. So today we're going to talk positional advantage and how 5th SFAB builds relationships persistently to help the Pathways campaign on behalf of U.S. Army Pacific. You see the map up here. Look, everyone's familiar with the Indo-Pacific maps and the tyranny of distance bumper stickers. At the end of the day, it's a long way to anywhere important by air and or sea across the Indo-Pacific. And there's a lot to get to. It's most of the world's surface, almost half the population across 36 countries, 9 out of 10 of the largest seaports, 3 of the world's largest economies, and the busiest and arguably most critical sea lanes, as well as the largest ground forces globally. All of that, of course, as the audience knows, it comes together with many flashpoints you see on the map, from Arctic competition to the North Korean instability and nuclear threat, East China Sea, South China Sea claims and escalations, gray zone activities in and around the Pacific, and including the Taiwan Strait. It's a dynamic and challenging neighborhood, but don't let that get you down. We are building asymmetric advantage across U.S. and partner forces. To quote Admiral Paparo, commander of Indo-Pacific, recent testimony to the House Armed Service Committee, our greatest asymmetric advantage in the Indo-Pacific is our network of allies and partners. Our advisors, like those in 5th SFAB, who are often the first to build and sustain that network at the tactical level. So it would be hard for me to outdo Admiral Paparo, but I agree. It's building asymmetric advantage through that network of allies and partners is where we get after it as the Vanguard Brigade out of JBLM. Now, how specifically do we do that? How do we enable U.S. Army Pacific and Indo-Pacific campaigns to achieve positional advantage across the Indo-Pacific? It's by being everywhere that you want us to be. You see the SFAB patch arrayed where our advisors persistently work with our key allies and partners. We currently have just under 200 advisors forward west of the international date line in 6 priority nations. We task organize in teams as small as 2 advisors that liaise with a priority partner and country team to teams of 10 advisors from a battalion advisor team level down to a maneuver advisor team level, led by a lieutenant colonel down to a captain. We have 3 advisors in some countries, up to 75 or more in other priority countries based off the USARPAC prioritization of the campaign. From Mongolia in the north to Thailand and Indonesia and Malaysia in the south, along the Straits of Malacca, and in the Philippines next to the South China Sea, you have SFAB advisors who are volunteers, specially trained and selected, who rotate for 6 months at a time, working to build lasting relationships with partner land force leaders and units, expanding and improving the land power network to deter aggression. To quote General Clark, the USARPAC commanding general, we're not interested in just building our own capacity, we're building a combined capacity with our allies. So what does SFAB do? We help increase the credibility and the capability of the partner land power network across the Indo-Pacific with the ultimate goal to deter aggression in the theater. Go next slide. So we are part of the Pathways campaign team. We help build joint interior lines for U.S. Army Pacific. We in place command and control capability and leadership, protection, collection, and sustainment capabilities forward to secure decisive positional advantage. Our advisors remain in position as USARPAC strategic scouts, able to quickly assess and identify the most advantageous locations, and increase the effectiveness and durability of our joint interior lines with our partners and allies. For strategic partnerships, our advisors establish those with allies and partners to deter regional aggression and strengthen collective security. Our advisors shape how land power is employed through sustained embedded relationships. Most of our advisors will do between 2 and 3 6-month rotations west of the date line in their 24 to 36 months with 5th SFAB. That allows you to go see your partner leaders in units twice to 3 times over a short period of time while assigned to the SFAB. That lets you maintain that momentum and build that deeper relationship, because we continue to work with them not just west of the date line, but at JPMRC Hawaii, JPMRC Alaska, JPMRC X recently in the Philippines, and at Camp Grayling, Michigan with other priority partners. So the relationships extend back to the continental United States and here on Hawaii and Alaska while we continue to work. We are persistently in these key locations, which increases the depth of our access in our personal relationships with the units, and importantly, the senior leaders and partners. By training together, sharing hardship, and really getting to know each other, your advisors ensure that trust is earned and competitors know that we are vested enough to keep our people in position. Nothing tells a message of commitment as having U.S. Army soldiers with boots on the ground in places you care about. And by keeping advisors in those places that we care about, we help send that message on behalf of U.S. Army Pacific that we are vested in those partners and those locations. That helps us establish that physical presence on key terrain. Presence in a key partner nation does impose dilemmas on adversaries, and it reinforces our unity of effort. 5th SFAB reflects the human side of deterrence: trust, professionalism, and long-term partnership. Our persistent presence on or near strategic flashpoints shows our resolve and makes decisions more complicated for our competitors, because now they know there are U.S. advisors present, helping increase the capability of our partners and allies that will change their calculus moving forward in the deterrence campaign. We build a strong and resilient land power network. I'll talk interoperability, which is a big piece of that. Our advisors are there ahead of a Pathways exercise series to work issues and then liaise with U.S. forces from America's First Corps and USARPAC during the exercise in a Pathways location. And then our advisors remain after the exercise to solidify AAR lessons learned after action reviews, and then continue to train with that partner force ahead of the next exercise to help maintain that momentum of increased capability across the Pathways campaign. Our partners from America's First Corps and USARPAC do great work and really, put it on 11 volume when they come in for these major exercises. Our job is to then help continue that improvement of the capacity of the network in between Pathways events, because we are there persistently with leaders and units. Our focus for interoperability as advisors is the human piece. By understanding each other, by getting to know each other, a lot of those issues that come up during bilateral exercises, if you've been to a Yamasakura or another bilateral major exercise, you know your partner, you understand their problems, you understand their concerns, and that personal relationship helps you move faster through decisions. We help accelerate procedural interoperability because we understand our doctrine as experts, our NCOs become experts on the partner's doctrine to help find a common solution on procedural interoperability so that when an exercise starts or a rehearsal begins, there's a better shared understanding between the Pathways unit and the partner unit. And then technical, we're able to experiment. 5th SFAB is able to bring new equipment forward into key locations on behalf of Pathways, on behalf of U.S. Army Pacific, and then find common locations and common mutual benefit with our partner forces for that specific piece of kit. But we're able to do that because we're persistently there. So it's a lot easier, a lot cheaper for a pretty good return on investment to move things by commercial air as part of an advisor team into a key location than have to wait for the large, more expensive tip-fid type movement of 25th ID into Philippines or JPMRCX or Alaska. So to close, I think we're a pretty good value proposition to U.S. Army Pacific, to use that term. We're low cost in both personnel and money, but we get into the strategic terrain. We build those enduring human relationships everywhere you need us to be persistently. We're always forward, that's our motto, and again, we go in and out, but our leadership stays the same. Sergeant Major Stewart and I came on 2023 and have shared 9 months over the date line of our last 24 to include a few major exercises in between. So you have people forward with partners ready to transition and respond to crisis and then prevail on behalf of the U.S. Army Pacific, again, with our allies and partners in the lead as 5th SFAB. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over for time to Sergeant Major Stewart, who will continue the presentation to talk NCO empowerment and development, and then we should have about 10 minutes left for some question and answers from the group. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I got the easy part. I get to talk about something near and dear to any sergeant major's heart, and that's non-commissioned officer professional development. So really, it is easy because it's something that we are passionate about in the SFAB. Building out the enlisted corps, any NCO, that's our bread and butter, that building, the training of individuals, teams, crews. So talking about developing partner NCOs, again, a little bit more complicated, but why does it matter? As we've talked ad nauseum here, and we continue to talk about, the environment is becoming more complex, right? Systems, information, data, Everything is getting larger, quicker. The speed of the environment is picking up. Non-commissioned officers have to grow, they have to adapt, and they're going to have to change with the speed of the environment. But that's not just the U.S. non-commissioned officers. We talk about interoperability. We've said it here many times, and we're going to continue to say it. We will be at our best, at our strength, with our partners. So we're going to have to help build the enlisted soldier out in our partner nation. So the SFAB NCOs, the SFAB teams that we put forward persistently into these other countries are dedicated and committed to continued development of the non-commissioned officers of our partner forces. As this environment continues to grow in its complexity, we're going to have to decentralize and disseminate decision-making to the lowest levels. With our SFAB NCOs growing and developing the partner nation, we're going to help them make these decisions quickly and capable at the lowest level. We're helping them design strategies for the enlisted development of their non-commissioned officers that will help facilitate this future environment. We're doing it at the forefront of competition. We're preparing the non-commissioned officer and the enlisted corps in our partner nations for the conflict that we hope to prevent. So what are we doing? When we send forward, we are advising, we are liaising, we are supporting, and we are assessing the partner nation, right? We do it across the entire .mil-PF spectrum. So we may focus on doctrine, we may focus on organizational development, we may help them learn and integrate and train on new equipment that they've fielded through the M domain. But most importantly, we are developing mutual trust. We've talked about the persistent presence forward of our teams. We are always there. We are always with our partner. If we're there, we can help them see these strategic changes that they want to implement and help them enact it over time. We can help them follow their path of progression forward across any one of these domains. And again, we do it through the advise, support, liaise, and assess. So a couple of vignettes. We have some pretty pictures up on the screen of our advisors integrated with our partner forces. And we talk about the pathways campaigning a lot. But just like any other nation, just like the U.S., they have internal exercises. So one vignette of some success that we've had with our non-commissioned officers, forward and present inside of a country, we'll talk about the Philippines. So recently we participated in an internal exercise. Because we've been there for years now, because we have built that trust with our partner force, they asked us to come and observe an internal exercise, right? So something that's not normally a bilateral one. They've asked us because of that trust that they have of us, that we're going to give them that observation, the feedback, help learn and progress forward. So they invite us to the Katihan exercise. We were helping them see themselves as they experimented with new formations, new organizations, and new tactics. We provided the feedback to them necessary to move forward into the Salakanib and Balakatan exercises where they can put these new and tried out experimentations into play during the Pathways operation. So that's just one model of success that we've had through our forward present as the SFAB. Another good one, Malaysia. All right, so we have Malaysian forces here now. For some of you in the room, maybe you don't know, but we are establishing a CRTA there. So think about NTC, right? What can we do to put a combined training center inside of Malaysia? USERPAC is working hard, and they have been for years now, to go into Malaysia and establish through combined planning exercises, where are we going to do? Well, SFAB is that low-cost answer. We've done it currently, and we're going to continue to do it. Different questions come up like, we need to do a recon. What terrain looks good? Well, you don't need to send a large contingent of forces, USERPAC forward. Guess who you can poke? SFAB. We have teams forward. We have teams that are capable of going out and looking at SDZs for HIMARS, that are capable of going out and looking at LDZs that will support the operations that we're going to do forward. So in other words, when we have these complexities that are, of course, going to come out as we're planning for building a CRTA there, we're a low-cost solution that can continue to liaise back and forth between our partner forces and U.S. forces, saving time, money, and effort, and informing critical decision-making quickly. So we can continue to do that. One of the questions that came up, hey, now we need to stand up an OCT academy so the Malaysian forces can continue to operate that. Well, guess what SFAB does pretty frequently? We teach OTC academies to our partner forces, so we can run this for them. I don't need USERPAC to bring out a large contingent of people to come forward. I can do it. I have advisors forward that can integrate, that know the partner, know the key leaders, know the terrain, and who to contact, set up, and train with. So these are things that we're continuing to do now. All right, another good example, our Mongolian partners that are here now. So the Land Forces Command, we've been doing something that we're calling the ZEB series for a few years now. The ZEB series is focused on team leader and platoon leader courses. We bring them in, we talk to them about tactics, and then we go out and we do LFXs, we do situational training exercises. We've been doing it for years. And we've had such success in the LFC through their own internal feedback mechanisms that LFC has gotten highlighted by the Mongolian Armed Forces. So MAF, the Mongolian Armed Forces, has talked to every other branch, so the Mongolian Air Forces, and they said, your success in LFC needs to be mimicked. It needs to be mimicked in all these other forces. They've mandated that they establish team leader, platoon leader courses, and it's been because of the work of the SFAB in country that have captured all these lessons learned, continuing to build the non-commissioned officer corps inside of Mongolia, that they want to see this happen inside the other branches. So that success there is now being mimicked across, again, one of our partner forces. All right, the last one that I'll give an example of some of our success for the SFAB in countries working with the non-commissioned officers. So the Philippine Army. One of the issues that we talked about through a gap analysis have discovered is the proliferation of their doctrine. If you look at the Philippine Army doctrine, it looks a lot like the American doctrine, right? They utilize a lot of the same tactics, techniques, and procedures. But like most nations, we struggle with getting everybody to use doctrine, to know doctrine, to read doctrine. Well, one of the problems that we're having is the doctrine is written in English, right? Through some of these socioeconomic issues that we may have, the non-commissioned officer corps English reading, writing, and speaking is limited comparative to the officer counterparts inside the Philippines. So working with the TRACOM Command Sergeant Major out there, he said, how can we help address the English language gap that can build this capability inside of our senior non-commissioned officers who can then go out to the force, train the subordinate NCOs and enlisted soldiers to understand and implement doctrine. The SFAB soldiers at the time worked with the Defense Language Institute to establish an English language lab inside of their Sergeant Major Academy. So now they have a course that they will go, they will test, and they will learn before they begin the Sergeant Major Academy inside the Philippine Army. All right, so this is proliferating and it grew. Now they utilize it for part of their instructor certification and validation training as well. So now what I have done is we've been able to affect, again, the non-commissioned officer corps at the highest level, the instructor capability in all aspects of non-commissioned officer professional development. And now I've made it more possible for the non-commissioned officers to utilize programs such as IMET, the International Military and Education and Training. They're now more capable of sending their non-commissioned officers to the U.S. to train, to participate in things like our Sergeant Major Academy, Battle Staff NCO course, or other such classes. So again, our efforts forward, bridging, persistent presence. So I'm going to close it with one comment and then I'm going to open it up for questions. A former USARPAC commanding general summarized the SFAB like this. We are strategic intercepts, 100% right. We have large forces from 25th, from 11th, from 7th. They influx into these partner nations for our pathways operations. As they go in there, they grow for the part of this campaign. The presence, without a doubt, thousands of soldiers. You feel it. And with that U.S. presence forward, who's not there? Our adversaries. Our adversaries cannot operate while we have U.S. presence in that density inside these countries. But what happens when it's done? There's a vacuum. And like any conflict, any country where we've seen that vacuum of power, it gives our adversaries an opportunity to fill that vacuum and try to sell themselves as a partner of choice. Well, the SFAB is that strategic intercept for that. As our U.S. Army soldiers exfil out, we talked about it, we're going to continue to stay behind as a persistent presence and help them capture, institute, and learn the lessons learned from these operations campaigning during pathways. All right, so we are the strategic intercept forward. We're going to continue to sell ourselves as the partner of choice, so that way we can counteract that narrative from our adversaries. All right, so that's all I have. I'm going to open it up for questions at this time. Thank you.
Aloha, sir, CSM. I'm Master Sergeant Hendricks from the 9th MSC, the Command Retention Advisor, the Army Reserve of the Pacific. Is there an appetite for Compo 3 soldiers to be in the SFAB program, or is there ADOS RC opportunities for reserve soldiers? Over.
So I do happen to have a recruiter here with me right now that will probably be more capable of answering that question. There we go, Staff Sergeant Simpson. So.
What was your question? I'm sorry. What was the question? Compo 3, is there an appetite for Compo 3 soldiers to be at SFAB, or is there ADOS RC where we can send Compo 3, maybe even Compo 2
3 being like the RC
Reserve.
So technically right now, we're actually supposed to direct all questions about the 54th to the PAO, so since
Okay,
they are.
how about that? Let me summarize. Right now, we don't have reserve soldiers. We do have a 54th National Guard Brigade. Anybody that's been paying attention to the Army News online right now probably saw that they did get word that we were shutting down the 54th National Guard Brigade. To answer any further questions about implications of that, though, we are probably going to kick it over to our PAO. But typically, we don't have Compo 3 opportunities. We do have Compo 2 opportunities, at least historically. However, if anybody wants to go active duty, we do have open brigades that are willing and able to recruit.
Hey, alrighty, you can hear me, right? Okay. Hey, thanks for a great brief, great information. My question's about sustainment, really. You mentioned about sustainment, building it up. When we do exercises, our soldiers goes in, build it up, tear it down, come back again next year, but you guys are there kind of permanently. So do you guys usually kind of self-sustain organically and using the host nation? Or is there room for, industries to jump in to help you guys out, or, local commercial vendors to help you guys out in that situation? Do you have some systems in place for sustainment?
Good question. So our teams are small enough. We're generally able to self-sustain and work off the local economy, because you're talking between 3 to 80 advisors, depending on what country that we're operating in. What we really do for the pathways exercises is, like, we can do those initial logistics link-ups with local vendors, with partner force leaders from sustainment units to say, here's what 25th, 11th Airborne Division are bringing in for a pathway series, and then start to really set those conditions and build that Rolodex of the partner leaders or vendors as it has to grow in scale for an exercise, and then reduce back again. But basically, our teams are small enough, we self-sustain and operate off the local economy.
Hello, Alan Delgado, Eastern Pac G6. I just have a quick question. What kind of communication challenges are you guys seeing in your forward deployed units? Anything that the G6 can help? I'm the division chief for the Joint Coalition Networks Division, so I'm probably the guy you want to talk to. But if you can identify what kind of challenges you're having, you can reach out to me, or if you want to talk about it here, we can talk about it offline. Just let me know, and then we can do something about it.
That's great. Appreciate that. Thank you.
The question I have is, in your tenure, because you've been there for about 1.5 years, do you see a rapid turnover in their leadership, or their leadership continuity is a little bit longevity than the military? That's my question for you all.
So I think all the countries will be a little bit different. I think it depends on size of force, and they do career progress their leaders different than the U.S. does. We definitely, comparatively, what I'll say, the United States Army has much more turnover in position in key leaders, subordinate leaders, than any other nation that I have personally worked with. So for us, going back, a first, a second, a third time, again, we talked about that relationship. It's critical. That human interoperability piece and the relationship building, Sergeant Major Stewart being able to go back into a country and work with the same Sergeant Major of the Army, from the Mongolian or from the Philippines, it pays dividends, right? Because we spent so much time building that relationship up to be able to go back and pick up some of those same initiatives that, the people that relieved me pushed along. But it's helping that Sergeant Major that's still in position along the way. So to answer your question, I see a little more longevity, but it's definitely from country to country. It's going to depend on where you are, who it is, what their timeline was when you arrived, and where they're going. But typically, comparatively, they are in position a lot longer than what I see our key leaders.
No, I agree. It sort of depends on what partner you're talking about. Some of them have like a 12-month command plan for 05-06 versus 24 to 36 and others. I think what we're able to do is, because of that existing relationship, we can help inform that diagram of where leaders are moving. Because if you come back in, you might say, hey, whatever happened to that Hodermarsky guy? I saw him for an exercise a year and a half ago, and we're not sure what part of the military he wound up in. Advisors being persistently forward can help keep that, sort of running assessment and say, well, that leader retired, that leader bumped up to be the G3 of the Army or took a division command. And then now you're expanding that USERPAC reach into different units and bigger elements of their enterprise because more of their leaders have worked with the advisors of 5th SFAB and USERPAC.
Sorry, again, one of those thoughts that kind of popped into the head as we were talking. So one of the things that we're actually doing for our USERPAC battle buddies, that the SFAB is forward right now. Again, we're persistently present. It's got to be nerve-wracking with the leader turnover inside of our key elements like 25 and the subordinate brigades when they come in for these pathways operations and they don't know what is happening with the partner force. They don't know how they're structured. They don't know what their tactics are. So something that the SFAB spends a lot of time doing is building interoperability playbooks. So it's really important that if we can figure out which brigade is coming in, we can talk and liaise with the inbound U.S. soldiers for the operation and start explaining, show them some of the, hey, this is what it looks like. Here's how they fight. Here are some of their key leaders that you want to link in with. And we start giving them that interoperability playbook. It makes that reception, that RSOI, so much easier for the U.S. force on the ground to come in and start effectively operating with the partner force nation.
But quickly on that note, if you're in a USERPAC unit going on a pathways, call 5th SFAB. We'll give you the playbook for the country you're going to. And I've got cards if you need them. We're easy to find on Global.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for the brief. Sorry, I arrived late, so maybe my question would be out of scope. Very interesting about your point saying that when there is a gap, our competitor will fill it. And we can feel that in South Pacific very much. So we have something similar in New Caledonia, which is called the Pacific Academy. This is what we do, and what you described sounds to be very similar. So my question was, do you also evolve in the South Pacific? And if so, would you see any possibilities for us to share good practice as I believe we do kind of the same things?
So we have advised in Papua New Guinea. The furthest south we are right now is Malaysia, Indonesia, persistently. But happy to talk to you offline, sir, about might be some opportunities in South Pacific. And just a paid recruiting announcement because we are an all-volunteer force, so I got to do it. Look, I believe in the SFAB mission. I've seen it firsthand now for about 2 years. All I would tell you is it's a different broadening assignment because it's operational. So most broadening assignments, you go to a TRADOC, force generating, schoolhouse, instructor type job because the Chief of Staff of the Army wants you to be a better written, verbal communicator, a better instructor, a better trainer, and a better leader. I would tell you, you hit all of those objectives in an SFAB operational broadening assignment, but you're doing it 4 to the date line and possibly 4 different languages. So our recruiting cell will be here. We'll be on the booth here in about a half hour if you got more questions about leader development and opportunities for your subordinates to come do an SFAB. But if you want to come work in the Indo-Pacific and go back at your next grade better than you were when you became an advisor, then we're the place for you to come serve. So thank you for your time.